That is seriously good. G'day, I'm Paul. So most of you guys know I own a Raptor. I love it. It is so much fun to drive, but this is like, I'm not going to say a Raptor from Wish, but kind of a Raptor from Wish. It is the cost-effective alternative to a Raptor and also the fuel-efficient alternative. It's the Ranger Tremor. They've just launched it here in Australia. They've had the Tremor name in the States for a little while, but this is the first time that we've seen that branding here in Australia. So today, this is going to be slightly different. This will be primarily an off-road review. We're at the launch of this car. We're going to get this back to the proving ground and do a deep dive review and go through what we normally go through at the proving ground a little bit later, but today is going to be primarily focused on off-road. So what is this about? It's priced at just under $70,000, so it is significantly cheaper than the Raptor. Raptor keeps going up in price as well, so it kind of gives you that hybrid. It gives you some of that sort of suspension flavour that you're getting in the Raptor with the all-terrains, but without, you know, the big engine that you're getting in the Raptor as well. The fuel efficiency is a concern. So down the front here, black Ford badge, similar to what you see on the Raptor. They've also integrated LED lights here. I think I mentioned a little while ago that it would be cool if they could actually put LED lights into this section because it just seems like a logical space to have them. So it's cool to see that they have integrated that. You've got the same recovery points here that you're going to find on the Raptor with that underbody protection as well. And you can also put a cover on these as well for a little bit of extra fuel efficiency. Come around to the side with me, Sean. Have a look at this. You've got some general grabber all-terrains. So this is a pretty meaty tyre. This is going to be great for off-road driving. Now with this as well, it's a little bit confusing, but we get a mixture of Euro 6 and non-Euro 6 engines in Australia. This has a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel. It's only available with the 4-cylinder. There is no V6 available in petrol or diesel trim here. One of the benefits of the Euro 6 4-cylinder engine is that you can actually use 4-wheel drive automatic. All the non-Euro 6 4-cylinders don't have that feature, and you can only drive in 2-wheel drive high range on sealed surfaces, whereas with the Euro 6 stuff and the V6 petrol and the V6 diesel, you can actually use 4-wheel drive auto on sealed surfaces as well. That is going to be a welcome addition, but it does mean that you have to worry about things like AdBlue, which I'll show you in just a sec. Under the skin there, you've got a set of remote reservoir Bilstein shocks. Adding these to the package gives you that extra off-road ability and also the ability for you to be a bit more aggressive when it comes to off-road driving. It's not going to be quite as Baja ready as a Raptor, but it does mean that you get that extra flexibility there of getting those suspension hits and getting that little bit of extra wheel articulation. It also sits 26mm higher than a standard Ranger and also sits wider as well. You can actually see that around the back here. Oh, also, side step there, similar to what you'll find on a Raptor. So it sits 30mm wider, so it has a slightly beefier proportions to it. So it looks a bit fuller and a bit more aggressive out on the road. Now, the other big advantage as well, at the rear, instead of going down the multi-link suspension setup, they've actually just gone down the path of retaining leaf springs at the rear. Now, there is an advantage to that. So you do still get decent amount of payload, but you also get to retain this side step. So when you step up to a Raptor, it adds dual exhaust pipes and you've got your Fox suspension at the rear, but you lose this side step because of those exhausts and the different suspension setup. So this is a handy addition. You can still use this as a work vehicle, but you have the hardware here to go off-road if you need to. And there's actually a lot of electronic hardware inside as well that I'll run you through in just a sec. Tremor sticker on the back here, and then sneak around to the back with me. I'll try not to get stuck in any of this mud. So around the back here, you've also got another Tremor badge there, another black Ford badge as well, instead of the blue badge you'll find on the rest of the Ranger range. This also retains 3.5-ton towing. So again, a valuable addition over and above a Raptor, which is capped at 2.5 tons. So it's giving you all of those extra sort of bells and whistles. And then inside the tray here, it's also pretty straightforward. You've got this adjustable rail system, a sports bar, and then a 12-volt power outlet in there as well, and then partial LED tail lights. So this doesn't get the full LED setup. Let's jump inside. I'm going to run you through some of the design highlights, and then we're going to try and attack some of this gnarly looking terrain out here. Righto, so we are inside the Tremor. I'll only be super brief here. I just want to hit the road and go for a drive. We'll focus on the detail a little bit later on, but just high-level changes. Tremor on the seats there. They're ebony leather, whatever that means. I think ebony is just the colour because they kind of feel like vinyl to me, but anyway, so this is based on the Sport. The enhancements that you're getting of that stuff, you've got rubber floor mats. Also have a look at this rotary dial as well. I haven't driven any of the new 2024.5 or 0.75. They keep changing the sort of model year variants of the Ranger, but this now has Pro Trailer Pilot, Pro Trailer Assist, Pro something, but anyway, it allows you to get assistance with reversing your trailer. Hopefully they've fixed how sticky this drive mode selector is, because sometimes it can actually get stuck, and as a result of that, if you are using this to steer your trailer, could end up in a bit of trouble. So that is worth keeping in mind. You've also got an off-road screen that they've added here. This gets the smaller infotainment display compared to the more expensive Wildtrak and Raptor variants as well. You do get wireless phone charging. You also get turn assist too, which I'll show you a little bit later on. Turn assist, they've added it to here. It's been available now for a little while on this platform, but it's just something that they've now finally added into this screen. If you actually bought the ForScan tool, which is a device that you can plug into the OBD port to change vehicle settings, you could have actually enabled turn assist on other variants. So it's just like an on and off feature that they have, which I will demonstrate a little bit later on. Now, in addition to all of that stuff, you've got auxiliary switches up the top here, which you could get as an option on some variants. The good thing with this is, being the 2-litre, you can actually fit a second battery under the bonnet here. You can also do that on the V6 diesel. You can't do it on the Raptor, but it does mean that you can actually then mount the additional battery and then other accessories that you then control using these auxiliary switches, which I think is a really good addition, especially if you are going to be modifying this and making it, I guess, better suited to your needs and all your off-road stuff. But yeah, outside of that, I reckon let's go for a drive and see how this performs in comparison to just a standard Ranger. Okay, so let's kick it on. You've got remote start. Well, by virtue of the app, you've also got a proximity start there, so you've got a button to kick things over. Let's pop it into full drive high range for the moment, and then we'll run through some of these features. So, got a little water thing here. Now, you know what the interesting thing is? We've got a Nissan Navara Warrior here at the moment, and I took it for a little drive around before, and it bottomed out on that section. So the extra 26mm this has actually makes a difference, and the Navara Warrior sits higher as well. So decent clearance through the center of the vehicle there, which is good. Okay, so first feature I want to show you is trail turn assist, or whatever the marketing slang is. But basically, the way I'll demonstrate it is that I'm going to try and do a U-turn around this back section. And what you're going to find is that it doesn't quite have the turning radius. So you're talking about a dual cab ute here, turning circle of around 12 meters plus. It is hard to get it around, but where that becomes a problem off-road is that you don't really have that much room on trails. What they've been able to do here is integrate trail turn assist, which we've seen on other Chinese market vehicles. And basically what it does is it starts braking that inside rear wheel, and it's effectively forcing the vehicle to pivot on its rear to sort of get it to turn around much easier. Now, the problem with doing that on a sealed surface is that you can break the car. Like, you're putting a lot of stress on the drivetrain. Similar in the sense of when you're using a diff lock on a sealed surface, you can just break things. So this is basically a controlled mechanism that interacts with the traction controls, and it's on surfaces like this where it's wet and you also have low friction. You're able to actually then use that system to your advantage to create a tighter turning circle. So I'll turn this off-road menu on, turn our parking sensors off because they're annoying. First up, I'm going to go through and do a U-turn in four-wheel drive high range, just so you can see what that looks like. So we'll come up to this tree, turn that around. I mean, I actually can't even do the turn. I'm facing towards a tree here, and thankfully I got that front camera there so I can actually see what's going on. So that obviously doesn't work, and then I need to do a 3-point turn, and you can imagine how much trouble that's going to land you in if you do need to make that turn and you don't have space for a 3-point turn. So we'll go back around now, and I'll switch the feature on so you can see what it's like as a comparison. Now, it'll be interesting as we go through in the wet here. I'll be keen to see if it makes noise, because we're basically going to be submerging the rotor in water, and then it is going to be aggressively braking that rotor. So this might end up making some nasty noises, but we'll see what happens. So to switch it on, you press this button. Actually gives you some indicators there of what it's doing. So we'll pick that same spot and then turn in. Oh, have a listen to that. It's making all sorts of noises. But importantly, have a look at that turning radius. That is insane. I basically have been able to do a U-turn on a dime there, where otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do that. So that is a fantastic feature and useful in situations like that where you're going to run into dramas trying to turn around and you don't really have that much space to turn around. Righto, so that is a useful feature. We'll continue driving. There's actually a spot around here with an offset mogul that I want to try with and without the rear diff locked, just to see how that feels. One of the good things about this engine, being a 10-speed, you have a lot of variation available to you when it comes to gear selection. but it tends to actually do a pretty good job in terms of selecting the right gear. It doesn't faff around too much, and you know, it's always ready to give you. Now that was interesting. So we had a little bit of wheel lift there, and traction control basically managed everything. I'm literally just in four-wheel drive high range. I haven't actually selected a drive mode at the moment. So the traction control in these is really good at just managing that situation and making sure that you're able to get through things without having to fret too much. So here's the offset mogul here. I'm going to change the drive mode to mud/rut. So you just basically rotate this little guy, and then it's a bit sort of unresponsive there. There's mud ruts. I'll see if it locks the rear diff. It does. I'm just going to, just for the sake of testing out traction controls, turn the rear diff lock off, just so we can see what it feels like. It's in four-wheel drive high range. If we need to have another go at this, I'll come back and do four-wheel drive low range with the diff locked as well, so we can see how it feels. But really just want to get a gauge for how good the traction control system works here. So this is quite rutted as well, so it should be a really good test of how well this performs. I'm just going to keep constant throttle application. So you can see it rear wheel off the ground. Traction control is biting nicely there as well. Okay, so right there, I can see it biting that rear wheel. Mind you, it's going to lift over that. So that is seriously good. So that is just four-wheel drive, high range, rear diff unlocked. We're just using traction control to limit wheel slip. I did have to work it a little bit there to get up, but shows you all-terrain tyres and a bit of a lift actually works well when you add in all of these traction control systems. So I reckon let's go back and give that another shot now in full drive low range, and I'll lock the rear diff as well and just see if that makes the whole process a little easier. Okie dokie, let's give this one more shot. I'm gonna pop it into low range now. So to do that, you gotta slot back into neutral, press 4L. There we go, that is activated now. Back into drive, engage the rear diff lock there. We're still in the mud ruts mode. And same sort of throttle. I'll just see how much of a difference it makes through here. Because with the rear diff locked, you're sending 50% of torque to each of your rear wheels, which should in theory mean that, I mean, if I look at this, it's just walking up here with no issues at all. Man, this is seriously impressive. This is a vehicle that is straight out of the box, and it is just walking up without any dramas. So that is quite impressive for, you know, a stock car. If you do want to make modifications to it, you know, obviously you can, but as it is stock out of the box, you've got warranty coverage and everything just works as it should. So that's really cool. Let's go do a hill descent. I want to test out the sort of hill descent control and see how well that works as well. Now with the hill descent, I'm going to switch off the rear diff lock. You don't actually have to. A lot of dual cab utes in this segment, hill descent control won't work if you have the rear diff locked. The good thing here is you can switch the rear diff lock on in two-wheel drive high range all the way through to four-wheel drive low range, but I don't need it at the moment. I will switch this on though, and this actually allows me to use the cruise control speed selector to control my descent speed. So it's just a useful feature in terms of, you know, limiting how fast your vehicle's going. Often I'd prefer to just use manual gear selection and brake myself, but let's see how well this works anyway on this sort of slightly loose terrain. It's worth calling out as well, this is all fairly light off-road. It is slightly more sort of serious than what we do at the proving ground, but you know, if you are going to be doing some serious off-roading, you'll want to be making your own modifications. But I think this is kind of the limit to what most people would do if they bought one of these and wanted to go camping with the kids or something. And that's what we're testing it for, as opposed to super hardcore off-roading. If you want that, go watch the 4-Wheel Drive 24/7 channel. I think they're more adept to that stuff. Okay, so front camera is active there. Just going to adjust the descent speed here. So I'm set it at 4 k's an hour. See how well that works. Yeah, I mean, this is a piece of cake, really. Let's see what speed it goes up to. Right, there you go. It'll go up to 10-ish kilometers an hour. And then as I slow it down more, it's basically going to then brake the wheels as it descends. But you know, this kind of terrain is perfect for this tyre package. So, you know, an absolute piece of cake there for the descent. And I think now's probably the good time to mention as well, but it's got a wading depth of 800 mil, so it's fairly decent if you are going to be doing any water crossing as well. Now, where does this sort of fit in the grand scheme of things? So this competes with stuff like the Navara Warrior, GR Sport, Hilux, or maybe even the Rogue, something like that. You know, it isn't sort of Raptor Baja ready, but it is the type of vehicle that you could, you know, reliably depend on to take you off-road. And you can say that really about any of the Ranger stuff, but I think this is more suited towards the type of person who perhaps wants to do something a little bit more serious, but doesn't want to then have to go and void their warranty by changing all the stuff on their car. This straight out of the box is going to be far more capable than a standard Ranger on highway terrains or something like that. So I think it is just a really good compromise there in terms of what you're able to get away with. So Ranger Tremor, I mentioned before that we are going to do a more detailed sort of deep dive on this when we get it to the proving ground. We'll do some more sort of on-road driving as well, as I mountain goat my way up this last section. It is actually probably worth calling out as well that this spot where we're at right now is actually a public area. If you live in Victoria, it's the Lerderderg State Park, but this is actually like a four-wheel drive proving ground style thing that's been set up in here that you're allowed to come to and just drive your four-wheel drive around. And it's great to get your skills up. It's pretty safe. It's not sort of too scary. There are some scary things here actually. I stand corrected, but nothing that I would dare to take this on. Some of the things that come down here are fairly serious. So yeah, look, to me, I think that it's a good spot to come and test your skills before you actually go out into the wilderness on your own and you sort of play around with stuff. So yeah, it is worth coming down here. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it, you share it with your mates. If there is anything you want to know about Ranger Tremor, let me know in the comments section below. But we will aim to get it back in for a proper review down the track where we can look at how this drives on sealed roads as well, because this has been predominantly an off-road drive. But until then, take it easy.